Hello, my name is Peter Toth from Anazao. This video clip is called SRA, meaning Satanic Ritualistic Abuse or Satanic Ritual Abuse. Before you continue watching, make sure you've watched our two other videos. One's called What is Dissociation? The other one is linked to our book Dissociation, The Forgotten Factor in Healing. Having watched those two videos, you'll see that dissociation, as we've talked about there, is what we call random or ad hoc. As events happen to us in life, we dissociate. The next step up from that, which is not SRA, has to do with programmed dissociation. Beginning during the Second World War with Joseph Mengele, a doctor working in Auschwitz who experimented on Jews, putting them under incredible trauma, and then recognizing that dissociative parts were formed, and that by giving certain access cues like a click or whatever else, he could gain control of that part, so that when the outer conscious person came to, then with this access cue, the part would then fully take over, and really he'd created a zombie, somebody that would be under his control. Now, of course, those notes have been written down and used by evil men, and different governments around the world have used that to program soldiers. And if you've seen the film The Manchurian Candidate 2004 with Denzel Washington, and a little bit like also in The Bourne Identity, aspects of that sort of programmed killing response, yeah, that's really using dissociation. But with satanic ritualistic abuse, there are three components, and we talk about those in a great deal of detail in the school. And I'm not going to talk about two of them that involve human intervention. I'm going to talk about the third one that is under the complete control of the kingdom of darkness, the demonic side of the kingdom of darkness. In other words, there are no evil programmers. And this is the most prevalent. This has a huge impact on the church. And this is what this video clip is all about. So, what is SRA? Well, the kingdom of darkness can access you in dissociative state, take your physical body to a physical ritual, and then they can perpetrate things on you in that ritual, all kinds of physical and sexual abuse. The dissociative part then takes you back home again or to a familiar environment. It recedes and you return having no memory that the last hour or hour and a half or half an hour has been lost by you going to a ritual. And they can do that once they've got one access cue on a fairly regular and consistent basis. Now, a lot of you are sitting there watching this and saying, Peter, how does that really apply to me? You know what? I've been brought up in a Christian home. I've never had anything to do with the occult, with covens, with witchcraft. I don't even read my horoscope. And herein lies the rub. Unfortunately, you could be SRA, and a lot of people are SRA. A lot of Christians in churches are SRA, and they don't know it. For example, we run schools as we have done for the last 10 years. And those schools have 15 to 20 people. When we come to the SRA week, of the people that come to those schools, and some of them are pastors and some of them are prayer ministers, a lot of them are high up in the church because they want to know more about counselling. And it's not uncommon for us to have 2 or 3 of those random 15 or 20 people who attend our schools being SRA. In other words, they come up for ministry up the front, and we go to one system which is ad hoc and another system which might be ad hoc, and then we go to a third system, and before they realize it, they're right in the middle of a ritual, and they're saying, why am I on this slab with a whole lot of people in hoods surrounding me? And of course, because they're ab-reacting, in other words, they're having a body memory commensurate with what they're visually seeing, it shows that the memory is real. And so there's no denying that this has happened, but of course they have no memory whatsoever of ever being involved in this kind of activity. It's far, far more prevalent than we think. We think the kingdom of darkness is playing up in the hills and dressed in black and doing their dances and their rituals and worshipping the moon, and we're in church and never the twain shall meet. Actually, in any given church, there is a higher number of people than you recognize and realize that are actually SRA, and it has an impact on your life. So, how would you know if you were SRA? That's a good question. And the only way we would ever announce that to you would be if you come for ministry and then you go through a memory. We never ever use word of knowledge. We never tell you in advance. You have to be in a memory and discover that for yourself. And then at the end of that, we will then explain to you what you have seen. So what are some of the symptoms that would be associated with the possibility of SRA? And remember, as I mention these next few symptoms, I don't want you to think, oh, I've got that, therefore I must be SRA. No, you may have these symptoms and not be SRA, but they certainly have accompanied SRAs. One of them is that you've been to lots of different ministries and you've tried to get healing, you've gone for prayer, you've had quite deep counselling and really nothing seems to change. You might even have had some of your dissociative parts ministered to or removed and still there's no change. Another one could be that you wake up in the morning and you're tired. Frequently you just feel as though you haven't really rested well. Now, you haven't had a restless night's sleep, you don't suffer from sleep apnea, but you're just exhausted. A third could be when it comes to intimacy with your husband or wife. And during intercourse, sometimes it feels as though it's really burning in your vagina or burning on your penis, or a sharp cutting sensation. And it really spoils lovemaking. It doesn't happen all the time, but it's enough to just put that fear in the background. Now, of course, you've been to a gynecologist, you've gone to see your doctor, and he can't find anything. Now, further on from that, there's another sensation. It could be that you tend to feel as though, I just feel a bit disconnected from my hand or other parts of my body, and you don't really know why. You can't explain it, and it might be a tingling that happens. It could be in your heart area here, and you are just have this sharp stabbing pain, a burning sensation. It could be to do with your neck, with your sternum, and it comes and it goes. Now you have a look to see if you can see any marks. You can't, and it's a puzzle to you. Again, you go and get the tests and it makes no difference. Another indicator could be when it comes to anniversaries, birthdays, Christmas, Easter, Halloween. But you know what? Your birthday should be a time that you enjoy. But you know, every time it's your birthday, it's just a disappointment. The tension rises, and it's just a time that you don't really look forward to, as well as these other dates that I've just mentioned. It could be that there's an anniversary of someone that's died in the family, and when it comes to that day, there's just a lot of tension that you get filled with during those times. Rather than these dates being some times of celebration, they become times of torment for you. So, let's say you think you might possibly be SRA. What do you do? Well, the first thing to do is just to relax. Jesus is in control, and the more you focus on him, he's going to, help you as much as he possibly can. But certainly you'd need to make contact with us, make an appointment to see us. Now, because we travel around the world, just check our diary and see from the website where we are. And if we're in your country, which could be America or Europe or anywhere nearby, then please come and see us in that country. That would save you traveling over to Australia. So why come to see us? Well, we've been doing work with SRA for now 14 years, and we've spent many thousands of hours dealing with just SRAs, highly dissociative SRAs, and we have an extensive collection of rituals as a result of all that we've done, so that when you come to see us, we can identify a lot of the rituals and the purpose behind them. In addition to that, we're very, very thorough when we do this. So in other words, rather than just mapping a part system and removing it, we go to a memory, and when you're in that memory, we make sure that you abreact. Abreact means experience the body memory of what you're actually seeing. And that's important to bleed out energy to bring you to that place where you just feel a lot more peaceful and calm. But the key point, the high point, is bringing Jesus into that whole memory. It's not so much bringing him, you find him in that memory. He was there all the time. His omnipresence means that there is no place he is not. And when you do that, that's where the peace and calm comes from. So it's our thoroughness, our ability to map comprehensive systems, to know the blockages that the kingdom of darkness uses to hide part systems, etc., which means that we can set you free from those dissociative parts and that satanic agenda. Now, the interesting thing is that people come to see us, and this is This is so exciting what I'm telling you next, because it gives you hope. You could be 40, 50, 60 years old, and you could have been accessed by the kingdom of darkness on a weekly, fortnightly, monthly basis for all of those years, many hundreds of times. And in the space of usually 3 days, we can set you free from all of those dissociative parts. And some of the most horrendous memories that you'll go through when you find Jesus in the midst, he so recharacterizes them. And thereafter, if you progressively, once your parts are removed, just go through and ask Jesus to take you to the memories so the energy can be bled out from the other memories, then you know what? Within a year, easily, you can be totally and completely set free from all aspects of SRA, and your body can get back to that place where it's totally and completely the way it was before that happened.